Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay. If you're new here, hello, welcome. As you could probably tell, the background is a little bit different. No, I didn't renovate my house. I am currently in Las Vegas, Nevada for the 2024 Mustang Challenge put on by Mustang Champions. This has been such a fun and educational event to watch. I think that a lot of times you can watch these events through YouTube videos or through live streams and you just don't get the full experience and the exposure and the understanding of how these events work. Even still, I'm obviously not an exhibitor, I'm just a spectator, so I'm not getting all the full behind the scenes details, but it's very interesting to see all the different competitors and how they approach different classes, how they approach different obstacles in each class. So we're gonna talk about it. I think in this video, I wanna do kind of a summary of everything that's happened so far. I'm gonna do some videos based off of each individual, calm down. I'm gonna do some videos based off of each individual class and get a little bit of education, critiques from those classes. You guys may have remembered from an old video of mine that I did the Mustang Magic competition. I did the top 3 after someone had posted the live streams on Facebook. The competition themselves has the competition itself has saved all of the live streams online per individual competitor. So I can actually go online, save some of those videos, and be able to react to the top 3. It's always a little bit of a struggle when you're just filming competitors because you don't know who's gonna end up placing in the top 3, who's gonna have a great run, who's gonna have a not so great run. So this video is to just kind of explain how this competition has worked, and I'm very, very glad that I'm going as a spectator to understand it a little bit more before diving into it as a competitor. It's something that I really want to do in the future, but to get a little bit of knowledge prior to is huge for me. First things first, all the competitors showed up on the 10th. Today's the 12th, it's Friday, so that was Wednesday. Everyone got here on Wednesday, July 10th to kind of get their horses settled in. A lot of the competitors made sure to get their horses out into the arena to get used to the environment a little bit. I was talking to Britta from Project Equestrian today, and we talked a little bit about how hard it is to replicate these show environments. You can take horses to shows throughout training and it still doesn't compare to the actual competition itself, just because of the rider or handler stress, on top of the fact that this is a completely indoor situation, which is weird to me. Right now, Vegas is sitting at, I want to say it was 116 while I was driving today, so it is very, very toasty. That being said, we obviously can't have horse competitions in 100+ degree weather. They have everything indoors. It's all AC controlled, which is super cool, but it makes me wonder about horses having drastic changes, going from 90 degrees, 100 degrees down to 70 in the arena. And then come July 11th, Thursday, they began the actual competition. The first class was ranch riding. This is one that was interesting to me. I haven't seen a ton of ranch riding competitions, so it's a little bit harder for me to decipher what is the end goal when it comes to what a Mustang and rider look like, if that makes any sense. In ranch riding classes, you can find elements such as gaits or pole work or drags or gait changes like riding gaits. This is making no sense. This is a hot mess. However, this one, as far as I'm remembering off the top of my head, the only real obstacle they had to face in ranch riding was poles. I feel like the biggest thing when it came to ranch riding was a lot of the gait changes and demonstrating the differences in a lope versus an extended lope or trot versus extended trot. To begin the pattern, the riders ended up walking forward, walking over logs, which was the only obstacle in the ranch riding class. After walking over logs, the riders will pick up the trot, extend the trot around the top side, break down to a jog again before picking up the right lead. The riders use the bottom end of the arena to ask for the right lead before asking for an extended lope up and around the top edge of the arena. After extending through the top half, they come across kind of the center of the arena, switch over to the other lead with either a simple or flying change, finish kind of a figure 8, and then break to a trot just before coming back up the center and come around a little bit of a half circle, break to a walk, stop, do 360 one direction, 360 the other direction, and then back up. Overall, it seems like a fairly easy pattern, but for me, I really like to see accuracy when it comes to where the horses are at. So I obviously want to see a clear difference between all the gaits, but if your pattern is written one way, I want to see it executed as closely as possible. But this one, I think they're focused so much on how the horse is handled and how relaxed they can be in those situations, not just pattern work itself. I think the one thing this pattern that I didn't really like is the fact that they did 2 haunch turns and then immediately backed up. I've always been taught not to back up after a haunch turn because it tends to teach your horse to start to rotate on the incorrect foot or focus on more of a backward motion instead of keeping that forward motion and crossing in front. There was a little bit of a break during the day, and then about 3 o'clock we all came back to watch the second class reining. The arena had tape laid out in 6 different sections of the arena directly across from each other to mark the different points that you need to go off of to have a correct pattern. When the riders come into the arena, I saw some of them kind of jog into the arena. Some of them loped immediately from behind the gate into the arena. Honestly, that'd probably be my preference, to see a horse just lope in nice and quiet, but I could see how in an environment like this, it would be really, really scary for a horse that has been out of the wild for less than a year to have to run through a gate with a bar across the top and banners everywhere. That could be a little intimidating. So the first maneuver, you come down at a lope straight down the arena. You're going to stop and do 3.5 spins to the left. Next, you're going to run back down the arena the other direction, do a sliding stop, and do 3.5 spins to the right. After completing the spins, the riders are instructed to lope back down the center, go just past the center marker, slide into a stop, and back up to center. To set themselves up for circles, the riders are then instructed to do a quarter turn to get them lined up correctly and to hesitate. They begin on the right lead, first doing a small, slow circle and then transitioning to a large, fast circle. In the center, they change leads, do a large, fast circle to the left and a small, slow circle to the left. Once more, they're going to do one more change and then switch over to the right side where they come up the arena, down past center, and stop. I think the biggest thing for me when it came to watching this pattern was there were a lot of competitors that missed the center mark multiple times. And this is where it makes me wonder how many of these competitors are experienced with showing itself, not necessarily with the training part. I think a lot, if not all of them, have training experience, so I'm not negating that. It's merely the fact that they don't do things to a show standard that I would expect. Whether or not this is a Mustang challenge, if you're riding a reining course, you should absolutely be hitting your center markers. There were some of them that were just spot on when it came to getting back on a center, and I can understand as far as the flying changes not entirely being on center. The ones that I can't get behind are transitioning from a large fast circle to a small slow circle. Why are we missing that center marker? So that's one big thing that I noticed. Obviously, the horses are not necessarily trained to have professional reining spins, so that's another thing that I think could use work when it comes to teaching horses how to settle onto their hind end. There were quite a few that would just kind of pivot half and half on forehand versus haunch turn, or just doing a forehand turn, or just kind of turning in circles. I think that working on a lot of the lateral work could help a lot of these riders figure out how to get a more accurate spin. The other thing to note for me is I would prefer to see accuracy over speed. Some horses would get this great speed going, but they're on the other foot where they're technically backing around that foot, which is not technically speaking correct. So we had 2 classes on the first day and 1 class today, which is July 12th, before the top 10 announcement tonight. The last class is trail, which is absolutely one of my favorites. I hit the mic, oh no. Trail is one of my favorite classes, both that and showmanship I could do all the time and be totally content with that being it. The one complaint I've seen so far about this trail class is how little things there are aside from poles, a bridge, and cones. I can see where people are coming from. However, the point of a trail class isn't to just scare horses. We should be focused on how these horses approach these obstacles, not just let's do something to make them spook. I do think there are some valid issues when it comes to some of the spacing of the poles, or having a box that's directly in front of a cement wall is a little bit scary. I think that if they had just kind of moved things a little bit more, there would be less issues, but that was a little sketch. To begin the pattern, the riders pick up the trot and do a serpentine through cones. This was done a couple different ways, and I really appreciate seeing how these different trainers handle that obstacle. You'll see some that do just kind of a weaving motion. Others will do a two-tracking. Two-tracking is obviously a little bit higher of difficulty. However, I do think the last two cones in the serpentine were closer together than any of the other ones, so it made it a little bit harder to keep a nice fluid two-track. For the ones that were weaving, it seemed a little bit easier for them to just weave back and forth through those cones. After trotting through the cones, they trot over a couple poles. There's one set up on an angle, a turn, and then another. After all the trotting, the riders then pick up the left lead, ask for an extended lope in a kind of ish circle before collecting back down to a nice collected lope over some canter poles. The riders then ask for a walk, which I was actually very impressed with how many could go from a lope over a pole immediately to a walk. That was actually really nice to see. You walk into the chute and then back an L shape into the second chute. The riders then ask for a nice quiet walk out of the chute before asking for a trot over more poles. The riders then pick up the right lead, do a turn down over one of the ground poles, do another turn back, maintaining the lope through the box before asking for a trot. After breaking to the trot, the riders come back up and break to a walk just before the bridge, walk the bridge, walk back down through the box, and then exit the arena. Looking back at this pattern now, I think that they didn't set up the arena the best when it comes to looking at what is happening in the pattern. Specifically, the box is where I have the most issue. Everything else, you could kind of deal with it, but the box itself was not set up in the prime location, in my opinion. You could see on the pattern, the coming out of the box is almost on an angle. I thought while watching the whole course that they were supposed to go through the box straight and then turn at a trot. Really, it's kind of on an angle. So to me, I feel like if you're gonna do it like that, you have to give a little bit more room for the horses to be able to fully get through the box at a lope before being able to balance back down into a trot. So many people had to utilize the cement wall in front of them to be able to stop because their horses were moving so fast trying to get through the box. Going from one lope pole to be able to turn through the right lead and then lope through the box again and immediately break to the trot is really, really difficult. That's where I look at some of the comments on Facebook talking about how they would rather see more obstacles or more things to be scary. And it's like, but there is still plenty of challenge when it comes to this pattern. Sure, we'd love to see lots of shrubbery around or different decorations, but at the same time, if we want these horses to be successful and have positive experiences, if we want these horses to be successful and have positive experiences, should we be flooding the arena with a ton of scary things? These horses are already in a highly different environment than what they're used to. So I don't really have an issue with the things that they had. Sure, if the pattern has shrubs instead of cones, maybe they should have done shrubs, but I'm not going to be upset with the rest of the pattern not having more than a bridge or poles because we're still showing elements of a trail pattern. That's a summary of the 3 classes so far. So once they do the top 10 announcement tonight, I'm not sure when they're going to post the trail results, if they're going to wait until the top 10 to be able to do a whole, party for these top 10. Once the top 10 is completed, those top 10 competitors will then go on tomorrow at compulsory at 10 o'clock, and then also doing freestyle at about 6 o'clock tomorrow. So I am super excited to see where people end up. There's a couple people that I am almost guaranteeing they're going to be in the top 10. The riders have been phenomenal to watch, and I think even just watching and seeing where they end up, you can learn so much from an experience like this. So if you have an opportunity to go to one of these shows, I highly, highly, highly recommend it, especially if you are going to be adopting one of these Mustangs. Go to the classes other than just freestyle so you can really understand how that horse functions, not just what tricks they can do, as much as those are very cool. Another thing is, even if you're not adopting a Mustang, going to these shows can give you the knowledge and expertise ahead of time so that if you do want to compete in one of these, if you go, you can learn how it works before you get there, before you're thrown in and have no idea what you're doing. So make sure you guys stay tuned for more videos. I am doing so much filming over the last few days. I'm shocked my phone is not full yet because I've just taken so many videos. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Don't forget to watch for the top 10 competition, also for the critique I'm going to be doing to talk about different things that I would change for certain events. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got a little something out of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ding the notification bell, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys. I'm sorry if you guys can hear the clicky clack of my bracelet. So in Panch, I'm back. It's so thirsty, I'm dying. It's so thirsty, I'm dying. It's so hot, I'm so thirsty, I'm dying. The heat's getting to my brain.